Carl Vegan, Smoke Dixon, I'm spitting facts. Now let's hit some heated topics, yes, it's time for group chat.
Smoke and I have decided to let you in our unfiltered group chat so that you can see what trending topics we'll discuss and also let you know what's really going on in the world of college football. And the first topic that we'll get into, we have to talk about today why the transfer portal had to happen. Smoke, we're going to bring in our special guest today, Tyler Siskey. Tyler was a former wide receiver at Auburn University, a former recruiting personnel guy at both Ole Miss and the University of Alabama. Tyler, welcome to the show.
How we doing, guys? Appreciate you having me.
Man, doing outstanding, my man. Welcome on. Time to get unfiltered,
Now,
my guy. You ready?
Let's do it,
now,
man. Let's
Ty-
do it.
Tyler, listen to this, bro. When I first posted the video of what you said about Tommy Tuberville the other day, I was not trying to turn social media into a "they hate Tommy Tuberville" segment. I was really just trying to explain to the college football fans that are always attacking the players that these type of things happen all the time, and that there's hundreds of college coaches who've done things very similar to what Tuberville did, and just show them how the coaches are behaving.
Yeah, the appreciate the repost that, by the way. So I was I guess we did that video probably about 2 months, maybe a month ago or something on our show. We had it out there, and it how social media they clip things, and I didn't really get to. He didn't clip the part of the story, which was the guy tried. He basically tried to. Why I was upset is that we went through about 3 months of him trying to make us quit, and he couldn't make us quit. And so then he decided to do that. He could have done that about 2 months ago, and I could have been out of there. But yeah, that was different times, man. You couldn't do that stuff these days.
Now, Tyler, we met by way when I was up to the University of Maryland. And just basically, I was running into trouble of finding ways to navigate the recruiting cycle, how to get one-cheaters done the way that you guys did it at Bama. But you just going through your situation at Auburn with getting ran out of there and coach basically telling you, listen, it's time for you to go. Was this your first chance of sitting back and just saying, you know what? Once I get finished with football, I want to either get into coaching or recruiting to help change the path of what I went through?
I knew I wanted to be a coach. Probably for a while. I was kind of just going to be a high school coach. Didn't really think anything about coaching in college. And then once I got to Troy, I got to be coached by a guy named Larry Blakeney, and he's been like a dad to me. He helped me get every job I've ever gotten, especially early in my career. Got me started on my path, and going to Troy and seeing all the coaches there, Coach Turk, Coach Rao, Coach Dye, Coach Wayne Bolt, all those guys kind of told me. Coach Tracy Rocker, early in his career was on our staff there, and they taught me how to do it the right way. And I really learned and decided I wanted to go into college coaching by working with those guys. So really wasn't, I always laugh. Yeah, it stunk leaving Auburn, growing up an Auburn fan and playing there. It's kind of what I wanted to do. But there's a saying, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans, and then it'll make him laugh. So I think that was his plan, to get me around the right people and get me into coaching and teach me the right way to do it.
Tyler, what do you think?
Tyler?
The real
Carl, let
reason.
me follow up with this real quick.
Go ahead.
Carl, give me a chance to finish up. Follow up with this real quick. I know you're ready to jump in because again, he high maintenance. You're gonna get to it in a minute. You got to watch this guy. He tried to jump in there and just get every single last word in. That's that St. Louis way. But me and Tyler go a little bit far back. So Tyler, so just as you were getting into that office and just going through what Coach Tuberville said to you, right? Can you just touch on just how you felt about the whole situation of just how that all came together when you walked into the building, what happened when you sat down in his office, and what that lasting impression was as you walked out of there?
I mean, yeah, I was pissed. You didn't. I mean, obviously, your anger, and you're probably, the other thing too is your age. I mean, what at the time I was 21 years old at the time. Um, had spent, I kind of worked my way up, starting from the ground zero, and then I was more again. My anger, my issue was more of him trying to make me quit, and I wouldn't quit because that's not how I was raised. I don't, if I start something, I'm going to finish it. You're not going to make me quit. And him not being able to succeed, I felt like I'd won, right? Him not being able to succeed to make me quit. I mean, we had like 70 guys quit over like 2 months. That was how bad it was. And for him basically said, okay, well, I can't make you quit. So here's your walking papers. So that was why I was more pissed about anything. But hey, it all worked out. My life would not be where I'm at today if that wouldn't have happened. So I guess in a weird way, I probably should thank him.
Tyler, you being a former high school coach as well as a guy that's worked on the recruiting personnel side and a former player, why do you think the real reason that the transfer portal was created?
Well, I'm actually I know I got to be on the early discussions of it. Probably starting my experience talking with the NCAA probably started in March of 2018, and it went live in October. I believe it was mid-October of 2018. So there's a lot of confusion when we talk about the portal, right? The portal gets thrown in this big conglomerate of things. But here's what the transfer portal is, and I don't think the fans understand this for the most part. The portal was created so when you did not have to go to a coach and tell him that you wanted to transfer and him to be able to restrict where you went. So in the old days, when you would want to transfer, you would go, and I say old days, like 6, 7 years ago, you would go into the coach's office, you would, tell him you want to transfer. And he would, in the release, he would tell you, I give you a release, but you can't go to these schools, right? And usually standard practice by coaches was they would not release you to any school in your conference or any school on your schedule for the next year. That was kind of standard practice back in those days. The portal was created to take that pressure off the kid and that restriction off the kid so he could go to compliance and basically get a blanket release where they could go to any school. That's why the portal was created. Now, all of the come up from the portal with immediate eligibility, which that's what I'm against. That is kind of what's created the mess we're in now. But that people call that the portal. That's not really the portal. Immediate eligibility is the problem. It's not the portal.
So, with understanding what the reason for the portal being created, and when it did get created, the proper way of conducting yourself within it, why do you believe that the portal system is now broken?
Well, I think the number one reason that the portal system's broken is because of immediate eligibility. That's, to me, that's the biggest reason why it's broken. And again, nobody's saying that they can't transfer. Nobody's saying they can't go somewhere and go on scholarship. But once you've gone into a system where you have unlimited free agency, and Smoke, you've built 1,000 rosters in your life too. Once you go into a system of unlimited free agency, you've created a massive issue and massive roster building problem in trying to keep kids. And the other thing that and nobody talks about, I know you guys will because y'all understand it and y'all care about the kids and both of y'all got in it for the right reasons. Unlike sometimes people think that coaches get into it for money and all that stuff. And trust me, if you start out in coaching, you're not getting in it because of the money because very few of us are born on third base, right? These kids aren't graduating. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to leave that out. They talk about what's good and what's bad. These kids are not graduating. And, the money's going to go away. These kids, all that's great. I'm for NIL. I want to say that. I'm for kids making money. It's not about making money. It's about getting yourself set up for life. Life's a long time. And the one thing that everybody listening to this show has in common, including myself, the one thing that every human being has in common is one day, some sooner rather than later, but one day we're going to be told we can't play anymore. And there's a lot more life to live after that. And so you got to be prepared for life. And these kids aren't graduating.
Tyler, you just touched on the academic component. People do gloss over that. What are some of the other problems that have been created in the game by the transfer portal?
Ooh, there's a bunch. Again, it's really not I have no problem with the portal. Most of it is roster building and roster management. When it comes to trying to, when you're trying to build a roster, used to you would build a roster 5 years at a time. Well, that got sped up to about 3 years, and now we're down to. Then it got down to a year, and now with immediate eligibility and now unlimited transfers, even with the inside the portal, schools are building, and Smoke knows, he can tell you, schools are building rosters 6 months at a time now. And I always say this, and I have, every time I talk about this, there's going to be people that agree with me. It's a very hot topic, right? There's going to be people that agree with me, people that just despise what I say and go the other way. But I just always explain this, and if they can feel good about this, then we'll just agree to disagree. The National Football League is the greatest sports organization ever created. They make the most money, most viewership, most fan interest, whatever you want to call it. The greatest sports organization in the world. We all watch it. Imagine a world that the NFL has unlimited free agency with no salary cap. How would that look? Would you watch it? The answer is no. Like, what fan, seriously, in the world that we live in, Patrick Mahomes could have won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Jerry Jones said, hey, man, I know you got a 8-year contract with the Chiefs, but look, check this out. I want you to come down here. I want to win a Super Bowl. So he can go do OTAs with the Cowboys and realize, man, their receivers, CeeDee Lamb's the only thing we got here. We're not very good. Hey, check this. I'm bouncing. I'm going to go to the Dolphins. And he's going to go to the Dolphins. He's going to go down there, and he's going to, man, this system really doesn't fit me. I think I'm going to start the season with the Packers. Like, how much sense? Like, I don't understand how fans don't understand that that's a problem. But by the way, that is 100% exactly what we have in college football right now.
Well, I can tell you exactly what would happen. It'd be total chaos, and jersey sales would go down, and nobody be participating in getting any replicas of old school jerseys. But with that said, you understand the portal all the way through, and you're probably one of the better guys to even lean on because you got in on it. But a young person getting into the portal right now, what advice would you share with them once they enter in the portal?
And this is another frustrating part for me sometimes when, we've taken a sport and sometimes we can't see the forest because the trees are in the way. So we're supposed to be, the NCAA is supposed to be all about the student athlete, right? We're supposed to be protecting the student athlete. We're supposed to be all for the student athlete. The best thing, the only advice I'll ever give a player about going into the portal, because there's going to be times when you need to leave or whatever, right? Never, ever, if any player listens, if you don't hear another word I say on this whole show, never go into the portal without having somewhere to go. Don't go in there hoping to get somewhere. Never go in the portal without having somewhere to go. Now, the problem with that is that's called tampering. And that's against the rules. So we've made a rule that's not in the best interest for the student athlete, in my opinion. Any player, but you better make sure you have somewhere to go before you get in the portal, because the school that you're leaving has the right to pull your aid once you go in the portal. And I've seen many of players go in the portal, and Smoke, you've heard horror stories too. Many players go in the portal thinking they're going to get a better deal or whatever, and they don't, and they try to go back. Well, you have no more aid, and now you don't have a scholarship. Now you can't afford to go to college.
That happens all the time too. I've been a high coach, Tyler, as have you. One of the things that used to frustrate me the most is if a coach wasn't honest about what he was saying. Do you feel like college coaches owe more transparency in the recruiting process to the player, to the family, to the high school coach, to the people that are dealing with the kid?
Yeah, so I learned, this is weird. I think this is one of the key things. I don't think I ever changed from a recruiting standpoint as a player, as a coach. I mean, when I started recruiting, I think just recruit the people. As I got older, the type of recruiting kind of changed. I was always dead honest and I had a unique style when I would recruit a player. I was always dead, completely like brutally honest with the player. I didn't try. Never did the used car salesman approach. I never, we talked football, but we talked about life. You want to get to know them, and you develop a relationship with them. And sometimes when you were really brutally honest with a prospect, especially early in the process, like really early in the process, it would turn a lot of kids off. But never failed by the time, which was what counts, is when to sign the player. By the time signing day started coming around and you started getting closer to time to put your name on a piece of paper, they would get tired of all the, kissing their rear end and all that stuff. They get tired of it and they just want to go back to somebody that's being real, and that'll always come back. So the other thing, and about being honest, and as a coach, is you if you're completely brutally honest with players, you don't really have to de-recruit them when they get there, because every coach is going to be hard on them and all that stuff when they get there. We call that the de-recruiting process, right? But if you're just real with them from the jump and they know what to expect, then it helps them once they get on campus to make that adjustment.
Now, you just touched on signing day. Gold standard of Alabama when you was there was you guys just captured recruit after recruit, player after player. You and Ed Manowitz and Nick Saban and the whole crew over there. But we all understand that the evaluation process is a major piece of building your roster. What made you guys processing so much different than everybody else?
Well, the first thing, Alabama's different, right? And it's Alabama is still in the elite of the elite class when you're recruiting players, right? So you didn't have that many guys your pool was smaller, right? So you were able to spend more time and be more thorough on a smaller pool of players. And so the one thing when I went to Alabama that really I learned a ton from Kevin Steele, learned a ton from Joe Pendry. They spent a ton of time with me, but was the constant film evaluation of the player. It's something that we do in my business, but making evaluation tapes. There's still a lot of schools out there that recruit off highlight tapes. I'm a big believer in the evaluation tape. Some people in the business call it the good, bad, and ugly. But the way I looked at it is I would watch a highlight tape on a player, and that would tell me his ceiling, right? And the evaluation tape will tell you a kid's floor. And when you're truly evaluating a player, you want to find a player that when you turn on his evaluation tape, you can't tell a whole lot of difference between his evaluation tape and his highlight tape. So if a kid, it's all about, in my opinion, when you're trying to build a roster and you're at any level that you're at, it's not about necessarily trying to find the guy with the high ceiling. It's about trying to find the guy with the high floor, because you're going to miss less. Your misses come in when you get these guys, you evaluate these highlight guys that are just have these unbelievable highlights, but then you turn on their eval tape and there's a lot of, there's maybe some stiffness and lateral change of direction, maybe lacking balance and body control on some things or whatever it is. But if you can get their floor higher, you have less misses. That's one. And two is this, and Alabama was sure this way. Alabama was not for everybody. And, when I was there, it sure wasn't for everybody. And you have to make sure you're getting the right guy. So really digging into the character and their intangibles there and is really a big part of it. And I'll say this, because I know you'll have a lot of high school prospects that are watching this. If I had advice on this, is if I would go, a great example, if I'm going to go sign a guy and I look and he's transferred 4 times in 4 years, and he's gone to a bunch of different schools in 4 years, why would he not just he's going to transfer on you the first time something changes he doesn't like? That's what that tells me. And so when I'm going and I see a guy that's transferred a bunch, I'm going to find out why, right? I'm not going to just blanket make a judgment. I'm going to dig into that. But more times than not, look at the guys that are jumping in the portal right now and jumping all over the place. Look what they did in high school. Most of them jumped around in high school too. So you got to make sure you're making the right decisions and getting the right kids. And when you're building a roster, you got to make sure that you're building a roster with the right guys to help yourself retain your roster.
Now,
you said your business. Can you touch on that real quick in terms of the good, bad, ugly tape and your vision that you have in terms of setting up recruiting services for universities?
Yeah, so I own a business called QuickU. and we have basically the easiest way to describe it is we have a privately owned recruiting department. So everybody that works for me, that worked for me at Alabama, worked for me at Ole Miss, we got some guys from Georgia. Dave Shoemate's with us. Dave ran recruiting at several different places, including Central Florida. I know you're having Gus on later. And UCF's a client, by the way. But basically what it is sitting in the chair and having to write the checks for all these services all over the years that you have to take as running recruiting. You have to take them and you have to bake a cake. You have to produce a product to be able to run your organization, right? So knowing that, I basically developed a software that I've taken everything that you need in a recruiting department and put it into one software where we're basically baking the cake for you. And so now you can go ahead and run and use it as a database, evaluation system. We have logistics, and obviously the cut-ups, the evaluation tapes and all the players, along with the highlights. Pretty much everything involved in recruiting, we throw in there. And we got some fun new projects that we're working on right now that we're going to take this thing, to the next level here. I've been working on them here for about a month. I can't say anything because I've had to sign NDAs and all that good stuff. But we're working on some stuff that's going to take this thing into the next stratosphere here.
That's big time right there, Tyler. And you touched in roster constructing on high school kids and kind of what you're looking for in high school kids. And we've touched a little bit on the transfer portal. One of the biggest things that Smoke and I get from high school kids is I'm slept on. It's unfair that the transfer portal is affecting high school recruits. If you were constructing a roster today, if you were running the team, would you lean more towards high school? Would you lean more towards transfer portal? What would be the foundation and how would you construct your roster?
I think the way you construct a roster it really depends on what school you're at, right? I think every school is different. I think every school has their own kind of formula that you have to use. For example, if I'm coming in with a new coach, what's my pocketbook, right? So how much money can I spend in NIL? Because that's going to be a big difference. Am I coming in? Am I getting a GM job? If we got some GMs and recruiting guys coming, am I going to a job that the guy's on the hot seat? Because if the guy's on the hot seat, I'm going to be more intended to go get more portal guys because we got to win right now. But if it was up to me, and I was building a roster from scratch, and if I was at an Alabama again or a Georgia or somewhere like that, and I was able to start, day one with a new head coach, with the no 25, the initials rule that's been thrown out, I would prefer to build it through high school. I would sign. I don't know. I would probably sign 30 plus high school kids a year because you're going to lose guys to the portal anyway. And then I would use the portal to supplement, where I'm weak, maybe, age wise in a roster, trying to even out classes, or obviously where I'm weak production wise and experience wise. The other reason I would go high school one was because, look, high school kids, if you recruit them and get them there, if they leave you can kind of, what we talked about earlier, you can kind of look at their past and figure out, hey, is this guy a threat to leave right when he gets here? And you can kind of feel that out, and you can get the right guys. Second thing, just being honest, is high school kids are cheaper. You go get a portal guy that has any kind of experience at the Power 5 level, you're fixing to overpay for the guy, and that's just the facts. I mean, I don't know any way to say it. I mean, you go get a backup left, you can go get a backup left tackle for $250,000, and you can go buy a premier high school talent for that. And that's just how I would do it. I think the culture, I would want the guys to be able to tell everybody, this is how we do it here. The best teams I've ever been on have been self-policed and self-ran. And when you bring, and it is what it is, but when you bring a portal guy to your school, he's coming to his school. It's a selfish movement, right? And it is what it is. I'm not calling the player selfish, but he is making that move because he's internally motivated. He doesn't care about the team. It's what can be done for him. And so getting that player, it's a struggle to try to find that portal player that can fit into your culture if you're a team guy. So you got to be real careful and study the culture of these portal guys because it's not as simple as just, it's not a video game. I think fans think this is a video game where you can just plug and play, and I turned my trades off on Madden and I can just start plugging and playing. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to have team chemistry, especially in leagues like the SEC, or really any league. But you look at the SEC, and I was kind of half joking, but the Sun Belt is kind of like the SEC of Group of Five, right? You got to show up every week, and you got to have team chemistry. And a lot of times, team chemistry is what separates a dub from a loss. And if you get too many losses, you end up talking on podcasts like me. You can end up fired.
Well, Tyler, if you can briefly just touch on how would you handle the NIL salary cap if you had to manage it in the perfect world?
Yeah, so hopefully, and I said this on a show yesterday, hopefully this House versus the NCAA, it's not even where I think media is blowing this out of proportion, like it's getting really close. I think we're a long, long way from getting this settled. But hopefully we get this. We have to get somehow, some way. I'm curious how they're going to figure out a salary cap with no player agreement. That will be interesting. I'm all ears for that one. But salary cap has to happen at some point in time because it's not sustainable. That number is not going to be sustainable. It will be sustainable. That was my whole point. Just break off and let's do it. I mean, let's get this thing collective bargaining. Let's get a players union, and it'll help Title IX. They still don't have a issue. They don't have an idea for Title IX yet. I'm all ears on that too. Let them see them fight that deal. And my favorite is they're waiting on the government, the Congress, to help them solve this thing. Well, good luck with you on that one. But to me, the biggest issue right now with NIL is, and I'm sure Smoke, you've dealt with this too. One of the most frustrating things with NIL right now is you have all these states that are working off different rules and regulations, right? And coaches don't care. I mean, Carl, too, coaches don't care what the rules are. Just let's everybody go by the same rule. And so you can't do that when you get states involved because you're going to end up with 50 different rules. And so that's a big thing for me. But in an ideal world for me, if it was up to me, I think that every single way to make it affordable for all schools and be able to make, you come up with whatever number. And I'm throwing this out there. This is just me using even numbers, right? So let's say we have 85 guys on scholarship, or 85 is this roster number they're going to. All right, every school divvies $8.5 million to football. Every single scholarship player gets $100,000. Now, NIL, like the actual name, image, and likeness, not pay for play, actual name, image, and likeness can be added onto that. So if I'm the quarterback, I'm getting $100,000, but if I go get a Dr. Pepper commercial, I can get more money, right? So I think in my opinion, the only way to make it right is you come up with a number, whatever it be. 8.5 million would be, 85 scholarship players getting $100,000, and then whatever NIL they can get on top of that, go get it. Just make it true NIL, not pay for play. But like we talked about earlier, the NCAA sometimes can't see the forest because the trees are in their way. And about 30 seconds after that law went into effect, pay for play or collectives popped up out of it. It's like this thing could have been fixed so long ago. And it's very frustrating for somebody that loves the sport, and somebody that the sport's been so good to me, and my family, obviously, and the people and the relationships, and I'm able to do what I'm doing now. It's just very frustrating that the NCAA, in my opinion, is a reactive organization, not a proactive organization. And so everything we've done, every rule, everything we're doing is we're reacting to things. We're reacting to litigation. We're reacting to this, and we're not being proactive about anything. And so, I think it's somebody, and I feel bad for Charlie Baker. I really do. Charlie Baker just walked into a hornet's nest. I mean, he's over there trying to clean up stuff, and then everybody's blaming him. It's not his fault. He's trying to clean it up. So hopefully he can get it steered in the right direction. But that's kind of where I'm at with NIL. And I'm for them getting paid. I want them to get paid. They deserve it. I'm for it. Now, with all that being said, this is a different show probably, but there's a reason they call it revenue sharing and not profit sharing. Just remember that one. Okay, because some of these people that want money are losing $9-10 million a year to the university. They're not creating profit. So if you want to run it like a business, you got to run it like a business. And the kids and the programs that are making profit should be getting money, in my opinion. Programs and players that are losing tens of millions of dollars should not, because they're not generating money. That's, if we want to be right, that's what should happen.
Revenue sharing versus profit sharing. We're gonna have to talk about that another time, Tyler, for sure.
Yeah.
We want to. Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show today, my brother. It was great to have you. Tons of insight from Tyler, and it's just great stories to tell. Great football mind. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, Tyler.